Hey, good morning, fuckers, and welcome to another day at the Daily BM. Mikey, what's up?
Good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome back.
Happy Monday.
You having a rough Monday morning?
Fuck people. Fuck you and fuck people. Man, I'm going to be old today.
Oh,
Matter of fact,
you're gonna be grumpy. Tell me what's bothering you today before we get into our topic of the day.
one kind of goes along with our topic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I can roll right into the topic then.
Except
if you
I'm
like.
not very sports athletic, but it's just my fucking knee, dude. It's like ever since that meniscus. Now that I found out it's the meniscus, not the MCL, thank God. But a meniscus can still be a pain in the ass, just like an MCL. And every time it's weird. It goes through transitions. It goes through one day, It feels like, all right, I'm on the healing path. And then all of a sudden it goes, ha, 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 go fuck yourself. Guess what? You still feel like shit. So you can't walk, you crippled ass. So yeah, it sucks, man, because like I want to do so many things and I'm like hampered by it. You know, just a simple, task like going up into my attic and walking across the rafters was a bitch this weekend.
Yeah.
Like a total bitch. And,
right.
And then, of course, me and my awesome mathematical skills and, paying attention to detail as usual. And go fuck yourself if you comment on that. Yeah, I fell a foot and a half short because I forgot to include 2 90-degree angles like a dumbass. And I know better. I've done this shit. I did this shit for like 3 years, out in the field. And here I am going, stupid. So my knee's bugging the shit out of me. And, a couple times I just was like thinking to myself, man, I'd rather fall on the rafter and bust my side open than fuck my knee up even more than what it is, or fall through it.
Yeah.
Or fall through the drywall. That reminds me of Chevy Chase falling through the damn drywall in Christmas Vacation. You know what I mean? In the ceiling when he's standing on it, he falls through it onto the bunk bed.
It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
That's some dumb shit I would do. So yeah. So
that brings us to the topic of the day. We were going to discuss this beautiful Monday morning about how injuries affect your mental health. Because I'm right now, I've gone to the last couple of years. I've had, knee issues, foot issues, shoulder issues, back issues. And it's been very trying. And recently I've been feeling really, really good. And about, let's say last Tuesday, I pushed myself extra hard on my run and my Achilles started acting up. So every day I've been icing it, stretching it, doing some strength exercises on the calf, massages, everything I can do. And it still lingers. And it got me thinking how much it's affecting my mental attitude or mental state and my attitude because, it's making me grumpy again because I can't do what I want to do when I want to do it.
Oh.
What were you looking? Brad was looking behind him. What was he looking at?
I was going because you said it's making me grumpy. I went, no, not at all. Why?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's wearing on me because I was making such good progress and I felt like I was making leaps and bounds, and then all of a sudden I hit that wall again. That physical wall where now I feel like I have a limitation and it's like I can't push myself because it'll injure it more and I've got to sit back and be patient. And I just feel like the other stuff I'm doing is not giving me the same amount of gains as I was getting from the running and the, leg training days and the strength training, which I can't really do a lot right now. So I've just been, cycling on the Peloton and doing upper body and working out. And it's really gotten into my head like bad. And I wonder how many other people experience this on a regular basis. I know my running coach, Jay, just had that problem. He was running a marathon, and on mile 23, his glute started cramping up really bad, and then it went from a cramp to like a full-blown pain. And he had a DNF. He did not finish. And now he's on the recovery path trying to get his glute rehabbed so he can start training and running again. It's just really frustrating because it feels like every time you take a step forward, you take 2 or 3 steps back with an injury. So what are your thoughts on that? You're experiencing that right now for the first time in your life.
Yeah, honestly, at 53, I've never ever experienced a sports injury or something that's held me from being able to accomplish a task. Um, and it definitely messes with the male psyche, because we're all, when we're doing something physical, we're driven to do the task and get it done and do it efficiently and the best we can do it. You know what I mean? And I have been struggling since this now. I've had this now for
Mhm.
5 weeks, and about week 6 to 8, I'm supposed to start feeling at least some recovery coming, and I'm still not feeling it. And for me, maybe it's me, the psyche of my thought process is maybe I am
Mhm.
making strides. I just don't feel like I am, because I'm constantly pushing myself on those levels. So yeah, it's totally screwing with my head. It
Mhm.
limits me at the gym. It limits me when we go hiking. When we go hike and stuff like that, I feel like I'm holding you up. So that gets into my head, because now I'm holding you up. That could go at a much faster pace now. Then I can't
Right.
keep up with you. Now you just had that Achilles issue. So I don't know how much you're going to push
Yeah.
yourself out on the hike trails as much right now until that's
No, I had
completely
it. I had it
recovered.
last time we went. I had it last time we went out.
Right.
It was right before last time we went out. So it's not an issue on the walking, and it's not an issue. It's not an issue when it warms up. It's just a lingering issue when I stand, like, after the fact and leading. Every time I stand up, it's really stiff and sore until I loosen it up, and then it's okay. But I don't want it to turn into like Achilles tendonitis where it's full blown issue. Um,
And the older you get, the more
but
susceptible you are to that too. So you
yeah.
have to be super careful.
So here's some of the things. Here's some of the symptoms that you might experience if you're having depression because of an athletic injury. Um, the first is fatigue that's disproportionate to the physical toll of the injury, or fatigue that persists even with ample rest. Difficulty concentrating, struggling to make decisions, repeated errors, especially once the athlete has begun to return to training. Changes in your appetite or your weight, problems with sleeping, insomnia, or oversleeping,
Mm-hmm.
feeling of guilt or even low self esteem, and expressions of hopelessness, excessive fear that they won't be able to participate in their sport again, and even if they have a promising prognosis.
Right.
So those are some of the things that if you're experiencing of those, you might be experiencing depression related to sport injury. And I know reading that list that I have at least 5 of those on my plate.
Easy.
Yeah, I find myself struggling to make decisions. You know, uh, I'm having some issues sleeping right now because it's bothering me. I feel very guilty, and I've got like low self esteem, and I feel really hopeless. Those are the big ones that are affecting me. And in this article that I found on Ample Wellness and Performance on their website, um, it's tells you how to cope with it a little bit. And basically, some of the things that you can do is you can, you know, choose to be mindfulness and improve your mind body connection. So it's recommending that you do more, meditation, yoga, tai chi, low impact things that really get your mind connected with your body.
Mm-hmm.
It recommends that you maintain your social connections and your self identity. So, it's important to stay in contact with your community, and the people that are around you that are doing, that are part of your team if you're in athletic sports, or, in my case, staying in contact with the guys that I've been talking to that run, and, just keeping that connection going and working on deepening that bond.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Focusing on your overall physical health, so making sure that you're strengthening the other muscles that you can while you're doing it, and then staying on top of your diet. That's one of the big ones, is making sure that, just because you're injured, that doesn't give you a free pass to start eating like crap and
Ain't that
eating
the
out of
truth?
guilt or eating out of depression. So that's something that I have to walk too, because I did have a moment last week where I was really, really down in the dumps,
Mm-hmm.
and I turned to, my favorite pastime snack, which is Oreo cookies. I grabbed a bag of Oreos, one of the self single serve bags. Um, had that with a big glass of milk and immediately felt shitty afterwards, physically shitty and mentally shitty for having that collapse. The only good note is I had calories left over in the day. So when I did it, I didn't like ruin my, diet plan, so to speak, because I still had expended more calories than I had taken in. But the mental toll and the feeling of guilt and shame and the feeling of failure was real. Like I really suffered from that, and it wasn't a pleasant experience.
Right.
The important thing too is to make sure you start setting yourself up for a healthy return. So, you got to make sure that you're doing the rehab required to strengthen whatever you've injured back into your workout routine. So you're not going back to 100% right out of the gate as soon as you start feeling better. Like you're working your way up to get back to your previous level, so that way you could avoid re-injuring whatever it is.
Yeah, let me add to that.
Yeah, sure.
It's so you hit that right on the money. It's so important when you are having a sports injury, and I know this is from coaching for years too, and telling my players and things like that, is to rehab slowly. And what I mean by that is that you have to take your time because it's susceptible to re-injury really easy if you don't. And I'll give you a scenario here in a second. But for instance, I know right now I'm supposed to start my stretches twice a day. And I was supposed to start that last week. You know how many times I did it? Twice.
How many times?
Twice.
Yeah.
So I got busy during the week. Then I got tired. I made an excuse. That's just the God's honest truth. Guys, you men and women, if you're even listening to this does apply to you too as well. If you have a sports injury, if you're a runner, whatever it is that you do, you have to take your time and you have to make sure you're doing the things with zero excuses. That means stretching. Nobody I don't know anybody that really loves to stretch, as far as athletes. I'm not a big stretcher guy. I don't like stretching,
Right.
but you have to do it. The older you get as well, the more it becomes important because as we get older, those tendons are a little bit, it's just like a car, man. If you're not taking the maintenance and, taking it in and getting the oil change, getting the transmission flushed, you're not, greasing those bearings and, you're not taking those CV joints and making sure they're lubed up just right. Guess what happens? Boom, it breaks down. Same things happens to your tendons, your ligaments, your bodies, your muscles, things of that nature. Tears happen. So yes, my own fault for not taking the time in the mornings and in the evenings and stretching twice a day and doing those stretching exercises that the orthopedic told me to do. So take your time on rehab. Sorry, I just had to throw that on there. But, shining example, the story, let me just tell it real quick, Mike. I had an injury probably 9 years ago. Shining example. This was 9 years ago, and I played adult soccer, and I literally never warmed up for a game. Never warmed up properly. Let me put it that way. I get out there and kick the ball around, yada yada yada. Right? Then the game would start. I pulled my calf muscle in my right leg, and let me tell you something, guys. If you've never had a internal belly of the calf in the belly of the calf pull, it is probably one of the most painful. It's like imagine your Charlie horse in your muscle right there, where you like wake up in the middle of the night and that calf just balls up into a ball. That's what it feels like constantly after you pull that belly. It's just it's excruciating pain. And I went through 8 weeks. I went to rehab. I went to a facility, had ultrasound done, the whole 9 yards. You know what I mean? Treatments or, all that stuff. Got back out there, didn't fucking stretch. Got back out there, just kicked the ball around like I normally do, and I came back 2 weeks early. So here's what I'm getting at with this one. Came back 2 weeks early, literally jogged over to pick up the ball to kick the game off, re-injured it. I was out another 12 weeks. So basically what I'm saying, and I'm going on top of what Mike said just now, is that take your time during rehab. Because if you don't, you'll double your time or worse, create a bigger problem because you rushed it. So you shouldn't rush an injury. You shouldn't do any of that. Take your time and rehab right. Anyway, right back at you, Mike. That's just where I wanted to go with that.
You're listening to the Daily BM.
I mean, I had a similar experience because I had, I was running. We were back in 2018. You and I had started running. You were ahead of me. You got me into it after the fact because I never ever liked running. Actually, I had the closed mindset that I was not a runner because I'd been
Right.
told when I was younger that I was not a runner. So I never ran, and I
Right.
didn't like running. But you kind of got me into it because you started running 5Ks, and we started working a little bit, and then I had decided to try those at the time. Those barefoot shoes, the verbatim barefoot shoes, were very popular, and I had decided to try those. Going from a Brooks running shoe that had the what's it called, the insert in it for
Arch support and all that.
pronation and
Yeah.
arch support and all that stuff, went to a barefoot shoe and completely jacked up my foot. And instead of fixing it, taking the time to let it heal and switching back to the right shoes, I decided to try to be a badass and run through it, making it worse. Which then caused me to start favoring my left knee or my right, my left leg, because I was shifting all my body weight. And all of a sudden I started developing knee problems on top of the plantar fasciitis. And it just got worse and worse and worse to the point where when we were at Halloween Horror Nights, I physically could not keep up with anybody. It was probably the most excruciating, my least favorite night that I've ever had because I was completely miserable.
Yeah, we were assholes too. We didn't
and I was trying, I was just trying to keep up with everybody, and I couldn't do it. And it sucked. And that persisted for 2 years. I dealt with these problems. I finally got cortisone injections in my foot, which helped. Icing, resting, rehab. Same thing with my knee. Finally got that under control. And then I got whacked in the face with the shoulder problems because, of years of sitting and having bad posture, caused me to, experience that god awful pain that I wouldn't wish on anybody.
Right.
So the moral of the story is, take the time to stretch. If you're injured, ice, injury. Make sure you're doing the rehabilitative work, and then do what they tell you to do. And then when you get back out there, don't go back to 100%. Work your way up to it, and make sure you remember to stretch. Make sure that you're doing all the things you need to do. So, I'm trying to keep myself mentally prepared, or mentally stable is a better word, through this process, because right now I'm just dealing with the depression of the injury. Like, it's really, really, really weighing on me. Even though I'm doing other physical activities, like I'm on the rower, I'm on the Peloton, it's just not what my goal was, is to be able to run a 5K in May. And I haven't been able to really work for it. I ran a 1.5 miles last night, just to test it out because I've been feeling better. And this morning when I woke up, it was stiff again. So it's kind of telling me that it's not ready yet. And I've got a whole series of, exercises and stuff like that I'm working on to try to work my way through it. But, if you're dealing with an injury and it's got you down in the dumps, basically the best thing you can do for yourself is show yourself some grace and, forgive yourself, number one. Number two, focus on your mind-body connection, through yoga, tai chi, meditation. Make sure you're doing all the rehab that you can possibly do. And just know that this isn't forever and that you will be able to get back to your sport eventually. Once you let yourself heal and move forward.
Well, let me add to that.
And if it's,
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go
sorry.
ahead.
No, go ahead. I interrupted you. Sorry, I didn't realize
the
you were
only
still
thing
going.
I was going to say was, and if it's an injury that, that the prognosis is not good, just know there's many, many other things out there and other types of sports that you can get into. And it doesn't mean it's the end of the road, because, if you just start going out there and searching, you can find other activities that will bring you equal levels of joy.
Well said.
That's all I want to say. Go ahead, Brad.
Well, I was just going to say, before we get out of here, because we're running out of time, I was just going to say, well, here's some tips if you are a runner, to avoid any type of like leg injuries. to so you can actually avoid it. Because I can tell you, Michael will be the first one to tell you as well that the recovery is long and it is nagging, and it does put you in those trains of thought that you just mentioned this whole entire show.
Depression.
Yeah, depression, all those areas, man, that all comes with it. So avoiding it is number one. So here's just some basic tips. First one, and I was just saying it, warm up, guys. Before you exercise, before you do anything, warm up your muscles and then stretch. You can avoid probably 80% of leg injuries just by doing that. And everybody hates doing it because it takes time. You know what I mean? You're already like, okay, I got to run for 30 minutes or whatever, however long you're running. Now I got to avoid another 8 to 10 minutes just warming up. But if you don't, just remember you could be in the situation that I'm in right now, or Mike has been in, where you got weeks of recovery just because you didn't take 8 to 10 minutes in the beginning. Maintain a healthy weight. I mean, Mike, right? I mean, it goes right back to it. If you have a healthy weight, it's less weight strain on your knees, your ligaments, your joints, everything in your body. So it'll also strengthen your knees. You know what I mean? And it will help strengthen that. And Mike will attest to this because he's probably got some of the worst feet out there. Wear proper shoes. Spend the money, guys. If you're a runner, it's all about the shoe. Is it not, Mike? I mean, you've bought.
So I'm going to push back on this just a little bit.
Okay, really? Because I mean, I thought that you bought some really good shoes in the past.
The goal is to fix your feet. The problem that I run into with orthotics, because I did have that train of thought for the longest time, was okay, special inserts, $400 inserts from the doctor. Need to have them, got to have them. The inserts are just a stopgap. They don't fix the problem. They adapt the world to your problem. So the better approach is strengthen your feet and fix your feet. So the process to that is, well, basically it's performing stabilizing exercises like, one-legged pogos, falling forward, mobility, ankle mobility, arch mobility.
Great advice.
Taking it slow, like foam rolling out on a lacrosse ball. There's there's an R3 arch roller that you can use. That's pretty much like a lacrosse ball, but a little bit more fine tuned. And start walking around barefoot, because your feet are designed to walk barefoot. We were never designed to wear shoes. Like, we were designed to be barefoot.
Right.
So my ultimate goal is to get to, a zero lift shoe or be able to run barefoot. That's my ultimate goal.
It's funny you say the barefoot thing, because that's exactly. Yeah. I walk barefoot everywhere. Like when I'm home or, or wherever I'm at, I usually take my shoes off and I walk everywhere. Yeah. Like I go outside every day for at least 10 minutes and I try to walk around on the grass barefoot. So it's kind of funny you brought that up.
That's something I started. Well, and the thing is like I got so brainwashed into the orthotics and into the custom inserts that I wore shoes. The only time I didn't wear shoes is when I went to bed. Like I wore, orthotic shoes in the house. I wore them out. Like anything with arch support, constantly wearing that. The problem is when you wear stuff like that, you're not activating the muscles, and the muscles themselves are weakening.
Gotcha.
Because it's holding a position for you. You're not having to hold the position. So basically it's like, when you see people like in wheelchairs, their leg muscles begin to atrophy, because they're not using the muscles. Same thing happens in your feet and things of that nature. If you're not using the stabilizer muscles, if you're not letting your toes spread out, if you're not working your toes, if you're not moving them, they're going to atrophy, and you're going to lose, strength, range of motion, and that will lead to injury. I mean, most injuries are caused because you don't have the range of motion that you need for the muscle and the joint to work the way they should. And you can also have, like I learned, with the running coach, Jay Welsh, I've learned that my biggest problem is I have very weak glutes. I have very strong quads and strong calves. I have very weak glutes, which means when I was running, it was very calf quad centric, which puts a lot of stress on my knee and on my foot and heel because it's pulling and there's no glute muscle there to fire and prevent that. So, I've been doing a lot more glute exercises to build the glute muscle because that's part of the infrastructure.
Right.
So I would say, yes, it's important to have good shoes, but it's not the end all be all fix all. Like, you need to spend time barefoot. You need to spend time, moving foot exercises. And then I wouldn't wear shoes. It's more important to have properly fitting shoes than anything else, because for the longest time, I was wearing shoes that were a size too small for my feet because I've got wider feet. I was wearing like an 11.5 and I really should have been in 12s. Because that extra, half inch allows my feet, my pad to have plenty of distance to spread my toes inside the shoe, whereas an 11.5 starts to cause my shoes to arch in.
Right.
So, yeah, that's important, guys. I mean, so it's a little bit of pushback on that, but
I think you had a really
it's
good.
more about form.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think you had it right when you said do more about strengthening around the foot, the ankle, and things like that with balancing and things of that nature. I think that's actually that's you forget about that stuff, and when you spoke about it, I was like, you taught me something today because I totally forgot about that kind of stuff. Another one too is just staying hydrated. Obviously, try to drink as much water as you can throughout the day. A lot of us forget to do it, myself included. I've done it before. Maintaining an upright posture when you're walking, strike ground to heel first and roll through the toe, and a big one that I do, and I think that's the reason why I got this injury at the same time, was you have to avoid overstriding because that can contribute to your knee pain. And I mean, when I think back to how I got the injury, I lengthened my stride to avoid something, and I got the knee injury. So, and then I think what everybody forgets to do is a good solid cool down. So cool yourself down too. I mean, it could be like a slower walk just to bring everything down to speed, get yourself back into the regular everyday walk motion, so to speak, when you have to run. But anything. So, Mike, before we get out of here, do you got anything to add to the topic?
Yeah, I'd like to do a final thoughts because I really like what they put on this Ample Wellness and Performance on this article for the final thought. And it's embrace the journey. Athlete injury and post-injury depression can test an athlete's resilience. There's no denying that they're difficult, but they also provide an opportunity for personal growth and deepening appreciation for your body and your sport. Remember that every step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to recovery and a more resilient mindset for the future.
All right. Well said. I got nothing else for today, so we're going to end on that note. So, with that, guys, don't forget to head over to thedailybm.com where you can go and check out all our socials and follow us on Rumble and or YouTube on our YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe over there too. So with that, we're out of here. And hey, we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Oh, and don't forget, next episode, I think it's the next episode or the following, we'll be out at the Sun and Fun Flying event. So make sure you log in. I think we will also be live streaming at that event. Barring that we have good internet access, guys. You know how that goes these days. So more than likely we'll be live streaming. So pay attention to our social feeds. We'll be live streaming on Instagram and or Facebook. Those will probably be the two main areas we're at. I think we might try to do a Twitter feed as well. So with that, we'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Have a good one.
Deuces.